Alright, so today we are going to talk about rotations. And first and foremost, when it comes to rotations, we have to talk about direction. Which way are we turning? So we're talking about the direction that we have to go in. So I want you to think about a clock, if we're going clockwise, that a clock would, this would be 12, 3, 6, and 9, okay, on our clock. Here's our little clock. And then the hands are going to go in this direction. Okay, so at the top of your paper, I want you to draw an arrow at the top of coordinate rules for rotations. I want you to draw an arrow and write the word clockwise. And then counterclockwise, counter just means opposite. So we're going in the opposite direction of clockwise. So draw an arrow going the other direction and label it counterclockwise. While you're doing that, I want you to think about, if you are rotating, think about yourself on a merry-go-round. Okay, on a merry-go-round, you're riding on a horse or a lion or whatever you're riding on, and you are turning about a fixed point at the middle of the merry-go-round. But you, or your horse, or whatever you're riding on, is not changing shape or distance between the tail and the head. Nothing's changing about your body. The only thing that's changing is your position, okay? And so I want you to think about a rotation as a turn, okay? Rotation is just turning. Now let's talk about our coordinate grid, okay? If we're going to talk about our coordinate grid, we need to make sure that we know where the pieces go, okay? We're going to talk about quadrants. What does the word quad mean? Quad means 4, okay? So as you can see, there are 4 pieces to our quadrant here, just like on your graph on your paper, okay? So on the graph, we are going to label it 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, where do we start? Can you remember? In the top right-hand corner. So I want you to label this one number 1. Okay, you might see it also as 1 as an I for Roman numerals. And then we're going to move counterclockwise so that this is quadrant 2, then below it is quadrant 3, and then below that is quadrant 4, okay? And that's IV, because V equals 5, okay? And you're subtracting when you write it beforehand, okay? Next thing we need to think about, what if this is the dot that represents us? We are here on the graph. And I tell you we want to go make a 360-degree turn. How far, or where would we end up? We'd end up in the exact same place, because a 360-degree turn is what? It's a full turn. So we're going to go 360 degrees. If we go 360 degrees counterclockwise, say, then we'll end up in the exact same place. So what if I wanted you to go 90 degrees counterclockwise? Just 90 degrees counterclockwise. Which quadrant would you end up in? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Well, you'd end up in quadrant 2. Why? Well, a full turn is 360 degrees. There are 4 quadrants, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if we want to split up our turns 4 times, we're going to divide 360 degrees by 4, and that's going to give us 90 degrees. So each quadrant is 90 degrees. So if we want to turn our little dot 90 degrees counterclockwise, we're going to end up somewhere in quadrant 2, okay? What about if I wanted to end up in quadrant 3? How many turns would I have to make? Well, I'd have to make a 180-degree turn, right? I have to go 90, 90 to end up in quadrant 3. All right, let's move on. There's a few things we need to talk about on this page before we actually get to do our rotation. So number 1 says to rotate the flag with points A through E 90 degrees counterclockwise about the origin, and label your new flag A prime through E prime. Okay, first and foremost, number 2 says, what quadrant is your pre-image located in? I want you to think about pre-image versus image in terms of cake, because who doesn't love cake, okay? So if I were to give you all the ingredients for a cake, and the pans, and I let you use my kitchen, so you have everything you need, those are the pre-image. The ingredients, all the supplies you need, everything like that is the pre-image, okay? So your pre-image is your before. This is before anything happens, before we do any kind of rotation, any kind of transformation. We're going to talk about reflections in translations later this week. But then once you bake the cake and you serve your cake to whoever you're serving it to, that is the after. That's your image. Okay? So before is the pre-image, and after is your image once you've done your physical rotation. Alright, so now that we know what pre-image and image is, this is our before picture. The thing that I have given you before we do any kind of transformation to it, any kind of rotation, where is our pre-image located? Well, it's located in quadrant what? 1. Then, once we do our 90-degree counterclockwise rotation, which quadrant is our flag going to end up in? It's going to end up somewhere right here, right? In quadrant 2, or I, and in Roman numerals. Okay? Very good. So now what I want you to do is I want you to physically pick up your paper, and I want you to turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise. Okay? Remember, each corner of your paper is 90 degrees. So 1/4 turn is going to be a 90-degree turn. Then I want you to look at the axes. Now this looks like it's the x-axis. This looks like it's the y-axis because we've totally turned the picture on its side, which makes sense because now it's opposite. Everything's opposite. So now we can actually write down the points of our new picture, of our image. Okay, I'm going to write them on the board. You don't have to write them down because there's not a ton of space. If there is space on the side of your paper, go ahead. Since we're rotating about the origin, since that's our fixed point, then our A point on the origin is going to stay exactly the same. So A prime is going to stay exactly the same. But we are going to need to write down the coordinates for B, C, D, and E prime. Okay? Forgot to mention. Anytime you have a prime or this little apostrophe on any kind of point, on any letter, that represents the image. And plain letters like this up here represents the pre-image. Okay? So what does it look like that B prime is located at now? Well, now it looks like this is quadrant 2, right? On its side, if these are the x values now, and these are the y values, well then this looks like it's at -4, +2. Okay? What about letter C? Where does it look like letter C is at? Well, now it looks like letter C is at -4, +5. D prime looks like it's at -6, +6. And E prime looks like it's at -6, +3. So now, turn your paper back to normal, and we can write the new points for our image. Okay? So B prime is at -4, +2. C prime is at -4, +5. And I want you to notice, B and C are how far apart on our pre-image? Well, they're 1, 2, 3 points apart. And how far are B prime and C prime away from each other in our image? 1, 2, 3. So that works. That makes sense. Alright, then let's finish plotting these points. C prime, we already did C prime. D prime is going to be at -6, +6. I need to move this little box right here. -6, +6. That's D prime. And then last but not least, E prime is going to be at -6, +3. Okay, so now connect all of our lines. That doesn't, oh, I put D prime at the wrong place, that's why. Sorry about that. D prime needs to go all the way up here. There we go. That looks much better. And there is our 90-degree turn counterclockwise. Now, when we take our points, x, comma, y, okay, this is representing our pre-image. You already have this written down, but you can't see it below my screen. We've got x, comma, y. So let's pick a point. Let's pick B. B is 2, 4, and we already have B prime written right here below. B prime is negative 4, comma, 2. Okay, what happens to our points? Well, our x value, 2, becomes our y value, 4. So that's our x value becomes our y value, and our y value becomes our x value, but it's opposite, because it goes from 4 to negative 4. Okay, the next video is going to have your 180-degree turn and 270-degree turn.